What's up, everybody? Welcome to our Q&A today in the new year, 2022. And we got some fun things to talk about today. I know we prefaced with the fact that we're going to talk a little bit about the 7 big habits that many of us are working on. I don't know if everybody in this that's on here is doing the Forge or not, but we're going to talk about the Forge and kind of where that came from, why we're doing it, why it's an important thing for me, and why Ryan and I wanted to share with you guys, and maybe get some experiences from anybody that is doing it, and see what's going on, how we can help, what questions you guys have, and then also just any other general questions. I know we have a couple questions that came through via the email this week, so I'm sure Ryan's got some of those tallied up too. Rhino, what's cooking?
Well, it's become fat loss month. With all the feedback and everything that we've gotten, and of course New Year's resolutions, everybody wants to get buff. So that's kind of, I know all your emails have kind of surrounded that general topic. I know we've kind of been picking on cardio a little bit, which I guess it's easy for you and I, which is weird because we love playing soccer so much, but we both hate jogging and hate running. I don't know how that makes sense, but it's pretty normal. But most of the soccer guys I know.
I mean, I guess we did so much of it for so long, and like every now and then, it feels good to go out for a jog. Just more for me, like clear the head. I rarely use it as my main mode of exercise, unless training for kind of our trail run or something like that. But that's really the only time I'll maybe take the dog for a run or something like that. But I do think that part of it is running was for the longest time our only mode of training because of soccer, and which to me is funny these days, because had I known 25-30 years ago what I know now about the benefits of strength training and what that can do for your performance level on a soccer field, I would have been doing a lot more what I do now, as opposed to the running that we did for our training. I think as soccer players, we just kind of assumed our legs are good because we run all the time, so they have to be strong. We kick a soccer ball, and so that just kind of took care of it. All the working out was more for show than anything else. But
that's right, guns.
But yeah,
guns for show.
Yeah, all the pool muscles. So. But yeah, I think it's a natural conversation to start to have around the new year, with fat loss being on everybody's mind, or maybe even just getting out of the terrible habits that many of us adopt in those last month and a half, with many of us here in the States starting with Thanksgiving and then moving into Christmas and New Year's, and all the parties and food and drinks and family and everything. I know that I personally, after once you get past Christmas, it's kind of like, man, let's just kind of get this, not get it over with, but that kind of stuff, like all the temptations of the food and things like that. It's like by the time January 1st hits, or for us, Ryan and I always have a soccer game on January 1st that we go and play in. But by January 2nd, it's like, okay, I'm ready to get back on the horse with some training, with the nutrition, and really kind of getting back in the saddle as that's concerned. And so that's why last year the Forge was just a small group of intimate friends of mine. I think there were 5 of us, and it really just started around the season of Lent. Ever since I was a little kid, I grew up Catholic, and so Lent was always, you give something up for Lent, or you find something to do for those 40 days of Lent. And so that's really where a lot of this started. Was for the past several years, I'd been giving up alcohol for Lent, and decided this past year or last year that, maybe it was I wanted to do something more challenging. We talk all the time here at 18 Strong. You've heard many of the podcasts where we talk about just this whole concept of challenging yourself, pushing yourself. And really, when I think about it, it probably goes back a lot to that conversation that I had with Ed Milet, where he talked about, and actually it's on the top of the, that's why I put this on the top of the Forge sheet, but I put that little quote from Ed Milet there that says, self-confidence is the process of keeping promises you make to yourself, period. And I can still remember sitting in my office at home doing that interview with him and him telling me that, and it was like a light bulb hit where, you know, it's those little things, those little challenges, no matter what your endeavor, those little challenges, when you make a commitment to yourself and you keep that commitment, that's a huge win. When you make those commitment to yourself and you don't keep that commitment, that's what makes us start to question ourselves. That's what makes us kind of get down on ourselves. That's what starts these spirals of us kind of going into the bad habit patterns. When you start to keep those commitments, no matter how little or how big they are, you start to see that that's the type of person you are. That's the type of person that you set a goal and you achieve it. You told yourself you're going to do something and you do it. And so you start to see yourself as worthy of whatever it is, the wins, worthy of, you know, reaping the rewards, worthy of going out and getting the birdies, or, you know, playing well. It's when you don't put in the effort, you don't keep that commitment, that you start to see yourself as a person who doesn't. And so then, you know, that kind of takes you down this negative track. So for as long as I can remember, there have always been like little challenges that I would give myself. And I would say that this is also something that I have struggled with personally, to get really honest here, is doing things, telling myself I was going to do things, getting started on something, and then not totally carrying through. And so when I started to see how important that one little sentence is and how keeping those little commitments are, then that's where I would find, typically, in many times, it's a physical challenge. You know, Ryan and I just did this trail run. And it's like just finding those little things and committing to it and doing it. And then like what you feel afterwards when you do achieve it, you accomplish it. This trail run we did was a hard as shit 8-mile run. And no matter what time you finish in, it's like you get it done and you're like, man, that was pretty tough. And you feel really good about yourself. And as hard as it was, Ryan and I have already said, we're doing that again next year. You know, no doubt we're doing that again.
For sure.
So that's kind of where the idea of the Forge came from. So I would typically give up alcohol for Lent. Last year, decided to then kind of take it a step further with and enlisted some friends. And this is really where the power of it came in, and where I was really excited, because as I was doing this last year, I was already thinking in my head, like, this is going to be awesome for us to do with our crew next year, because just the camaraderie of the 4 and 5 guys that were in the text chain doing it last year, regarding the eating, the not drinking, you know, who's doing what workouts, meeting a buddy down at the park here in St. Louis to do an outdoor workout. Like, we never did that. We're college buddies. We never did that kind of stuff, but it built this camaraderie amongst each other. And I think you're already starting to see like people starting to participate a little bit in the Facebook group and being willing to kind of put themselves out there. And I know Ryan and I, there's friends of ours that are doing this that I really never thought would. But they saw that others of us were doing it, and they're all in. And I think that for a few of them, this could be a major game changer as far as their health is concerned, their mental, you know, the way they approach just everything. That was one thing that we really noticed last year was, and all of us sat down after the Forge was over. A couple of us got together, had a couple of beers and talked about it. And one of the things was like, just from a mental standpoint, and last year was really weird, obviously, because there were so many lockdowns and things like that. So it also gave us an outlet to have somebody else to talk to, you know, one of my buddies was pretty much like in his house by himself. He's a single guy. So if his girlfriend wasn't over, it was him working at home all alone. And, you know, it's one of those things where like this gave us a purpose every single day to check off our list, to check in with people. And you realize that every single day you're getting a little bit better. You start to feel your body changing. You start to feel your mentality clear up, you know, like all of these different things. And so that's really what sparked this whole thing. And then there's another guy that I follow, that I listen to his podcast. His name's Andy Frisella, and he has a program called 75 Hard. And his program it's kind of all over the place, but it's a super intense program, list of daily tasks that you have to do, 2 45-minute workouts. One workout is outdoors every single day. And I really appreciated what that program, what the intent of that program was, and was like, okay, so how do we take some of the things that we've been doing over the past several years with the habits that we talk about here at 18 Strong, the things that we've done, that I've done for, years with Lent and this stuff, the forge that we did last year. And that's when we decided, like, let's kind of model it a little bit the same way that they did. And then we came up with our own habits that we wanted to achieve every single day. And so really that's kind of the culmination of how this thing came about, in a long-winded answer.
Can't get a word in edgewise. Yeah. I think that 75 hard is pretty awesome. And so, little backstory. So he's from St. Louis also, and they run the First Form. It's a supplement company that we're affiliated with. But yeah, like their place is right down the road from us. And you run around St. Louis, and so many people have done that thing, and said it was a really great kickstart to the thing. So I think ours is more of the golf centric version of that, also based on, I guess it's a Catholic thing now. 40 days. We got very biblical with the title on this thing. Like in the Bible, everything is 40 days, no matter how long it was. 40 days. But yeah, it's so I'm 4 days in. Are you also? Did you start Monday?
I am also 4 days in. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
So I started on Monday. I think some of the folks on here, I think Marina, you may have started a little bit earlier than that. How many? 6 days in?
6 days.
Yeah. So we've got a couple forgers that are ahead of the game here. They're in front of us. But yeah, so the question was, do we do it for Lent? Which, we decided, like, no, this is the perfect time to do it, because everybody in the world is talking about New Year's resolutions and all that. I've never been a big fan of really, the New Year's resolution process, because most people just they don't take it serious. And so I want to I've been kind of telling myself, like, I want this to be almost like an evolution of, like, we're starting and we know that we're all kind of evolving over these 40 days. And it's something that we are very strictly committed to. Now, we've put in the rule that, we're going to put a moniker of anybody that does this for 40 days straight, checks off all 7 of the boxes, all 40 days, you're officially forged, right? But I do want to clarify that sometimes what's going to happen is you're going to forget one of these things, or it's going to be an absent-minded thing. And that's what happened to me last year. We didn't say that you had to complete every single thing, or you're done. But like, I can remember getting ready to lay in bed and being like, oh shit, I didn't do my golf swings today. And then I had to go outside, put my shoes on in the snow, and I was doing my golf swings, left hand and right hand, go back upstairs, and then I'm awake for another half hour because I am no longer sleepy. But part of the reason that we do that we say, it's kind of all or none. I want to clarify with saying, even if you do miss one of those things, we want you to continue through. Ideally, I'd love for you to say, okay, I missed it day 1. I'm going to go for another 40 days straight, to get that moniker, right? To say you actually did the whole thing. But even, I'm afraid that some people that maybe miss a task are going to say, ah, shit, I'm out. And then they're going to bail. I don't want that to happen. So no matter what, I want you in. If you said you're in for the 40 days, I want you in for the 40 days. Now, that being said, the reason we give you kind of a no strike rule, 1 strike rule, whatever you want to call it, we're using that hashtag no more mulligans, because you got to pay attention to the details. Like, that's one of the things that many of us struggle with, is sticking to the plan that we said we were going to do, and just being lax, being not focused. How many times is what happens on the golf course a lack of focus, a lack of attention to a detail, lack of, just you not doing your pre-shot routine, you not doing the one little thing, you not taking the time to read your putt, the way that you normally would, walking up and, it should be a little gimme putt, and you go up and you tap it and you goof it. We see that on the tour quite a bit. That's all lack of focus. That's all lack of attention to detail. And so some of these little things, the cold shower. Yes, everybody's talked about it so far. It can be challenging. It can be tough. But I would venture to say that somebody's going to forget it just because they didn't shower that day. And then they're going to go to bed and they're going to go, oh, shit, I forgot my cold shower. And all of a sudden start back over day one, right? So that's intentional in there as well. And that's, again, why we're saying no more mulligans, because it's time to step up your expectations of yourself, not let yourself get away with some of the little leeway, and not let yourself fall short on some of those expectations. So even though, some of you may not, I mean, who knows? I may falter on one of these, but I can guarantee you that if I falter on one of these, I'm starting my day one the next day. So I will complete the 40-day forge no matter what, because it's the 40-day forge and we started it, right? So I have a major commitment to you guys that I'm going to do what I said I was going to do. And I take that to heart as well. All right. Well, any questions from anybody? So I'm just not blabbering and talking the whole time. I'd love to hear what questions you guys have, or should we maybe we should probably run through the 7 tasks, I guess, or the 7 habits that we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure. And I think it's worth noting that it's not, I mean, how many 30-day, 60-day physical challenges are out there? It's after the 30 days, it's okay, it's over. This is way more of a mental thing than anything, more of a habit building thing. And I said that to Kendra this morning, my lovely bride. I said, do you think that, and she's doing it as well, do you think that after the 40 days, we'll keep doing these cold showers? And on day 4, and I know Marina even put this in the Face Burst group today, that she's actually starting to look forward to it. And I'm not quite there yet. I'm looking forward to it, but I look forward to the feeling after it. And I can see myself just adding, the minute right now is pretty long, but adding, a minute 10 and a minute 30 and then however long. And I was at the local restaurant on Saturday afternoon with a couple buddies, and one of our buddies is friends with a billionaire, and he says he has been doing this for years. So this guy's
shower.
Yeah. So Mr. Kavanaugh. So obviously that guy is working at a extremely high functioning level in the world. So if he's doing it, there's got to be something to it. And he's in very good shape also. He's a
super fit
60-year-old dude. But yeah, and that's the thing. It's more of the habit than let's just get through the 40 days. I do think that it's going to start to do it. And I did almost forget to do my swings yesterday. I opened up the closet. I'm like, oh shit, they're my clubs. I should probably go outside and do this.
Yep. Yeah, it's easy to do. And that's why I mentioned, so, like we've got these little printouts you guys can do. You saw the calendars that we had. Like I've got one in my office. I've got a couple of them at home just to remind me. I've also told my kids, like, hey, remember, Dad's got to do this stuff. Help me remember, so just some of those little things are tips to make sure you don't forget. Have other people hold you accountable. Tell other people you're doing it. They're going to ask you about it. And then you're going to be, oh yeah, I forgot to do such and such. So I'm just going to read through just the 7 habits or the 7 tasks real quick. And then we can go through a little bit more detailed why we picked these, but just to throw this out there, the first habit is doing 24 ounces of water in the morning, really as the first thing that you put into your mouth of the day. Ideally, I like to have a squeeze of lemon in there, or I would like you to have a squeeze of lemon in there. I realize that may not always be feasible, especially for the people that travel a lot. I know that, we could force you to go to the store and get lemons, but we're not going to do that. The second one is to do the daily motion routine. We call it our EFDs, our every freaking days. Those are on the page where you can download. You can actually go watch the videos of each of those, and then you can download the little cheat sheet that looks like this with all the different movements on it. If anybody on this call does not know what we're talking about or about the page, just post in the either post in the chat and we'll make sure that you guys get the link and
Here, I'll just,
post.
yeah, let me just, I'll throw the link in there right now. There we go.
Yeah, so you can go to that page that has all of the details on it. It's got all of the downloads. I'm going to put together a little bit of a resource page as well, just for some other resources that might help you guys with some reading material on, you know, some of the reasons behind some of this stuff. The next one is the meditation and breathing, and that's doing at least 10 minutes of meditation, quiet time, basically getting you off of your phones, getting you to just kind of like quiet down with yourself, with your thoughts, or trying to keep your, you know, or even trying to clear your thoughts, just trying to clear your brain. We'll go into that in a bit here too. The fourth one is the cold shower. That's the at least 1 minute of an ice cold shower or cold plunge. I recommend, you know, at the end of your regular shower, when you're nice and toasty and warm, to just crank off the hot water, crank up the cold water, and you just sit there for 1 minute. My suggestion is, you know, turn your body around, move around, like kind of wash the water in. It helps, first of all, just kind of almost distract you a little bit, but it also, we want it to hit all of your body too. So you're not just like, just your head in the top and just waiting there. You know, do at least a minute there. This is something that I would encourage you, like Ryan said, encourage you to kind of keep upping your time if you're inclined to do so. I did a 5-minute one the other day, and I swear to God, it felt like an hour. But I did it just to see what it was like, and it was miserable. But at the same time, I feel like halfway through, you just kind of get over the cold. And so if anybody's willing to try, even trying 2 minutes, I do a 2-minute one every day these days. So and I've been doing this for, you know, months now. And again, it is kind of something that I look forward to, but I also, right before I turn the water, I hesitate every single morning. So I'm with you on that one. The next one is the intentional physical activity, and that is 40 minutes of 40 consecutive minutes. So you can't break this up. You have to allot time in your day, 40 straight minutes of doing some sort of physical activity. Now, I would highly suggest that each of you take this as a personal challenge to challenge yourself. So we're going to have some people in the group where going for a 40-minute walk could be a physical challenge. We're going to have some people that, you know, get on a stationary bike, and that's going to be a physical challenge. I mentioned in the video when I was walking my dog that, you know, while most days I do walk my dog, I'm not going to consider that my physical challenge, because to me, that's just kind of an enjoyable thing, even though sometimes it's super early in the morning. I want it to be something where you're intentionally trying to better yourself. So going and saying, oh, well, I raked leaves for 40 hours, doesn't count. You know, like I did yard work, or, you know, that kind of stuff. Yes, but that's also just a task that you had to do. So you're just kind of rationalizing that, oh yeah, I did that. I want it to be something that specifically is going to help you get better. Now, that could be doing your strength training routine, which I highly recommend that multiple days a week, there should be some sort of strength training routine that is part of your physical activity. That could be, and we kind of talked about this a little bit before putting this whole thing together. Does golf count? Does practicing count? And we were like, you know what? If somebody is going and intentionally trying to get themselves better, golf can be a very physical activity, right? Anybody that has a Whoop knows that. You've seen the stats on the Whoop. But even if you're going to the driving range, we're going to count, like if you go and you work on your putting for 40 minutes straight and you have an intentional plan and you know what you're not just going and banging mindless putts, we're going to count it. We want this to be something that you look forward to on some days, that you're working hard at. Now, for me, it will mostly be strength training, some sort of physical training, you know, going and doing some sort of a workout or a hike, something like that. But if I go play golf, that's also going to count too. So the beauty of this program is most of this stuff is up to you, whether you did it or, I mean, it's up to you whether you did it or didn't. So you get to gauge it. You get to internally say, did I really challenge myself, or did I kind of wuss out on that and just kind of check the box? And if you just check the box, I would highly suggest you kind of reevaluate the whole process here, right? So that's the physical activity. Next is the perfect diet and no alcohol.
That's a tough one. That's a real tough one.
Yeah, like this is, so I think with the beauty, well, let me say this real quick. So the last one is then the golf swings, 15 golf swings, right-handed and left-handed every single day. I think, and I'll come back to the diet and nutrition, but I think that the beauty of this whole thing is that different people are going to have challenges with different parts, because I know a lot of people that are in this program couldn't give a shit about alcohol. They don't drink, not a problem. I know some people that eat really clean, the diet, not a problem. I know people that now love the cold showers, not a problem. But for some people, one of these things that I think is not a big challenge is going to be a big challenge for them. Something that you think is easy might be one of the biggest struggles for me, right? So that's why these 7 different things, it's about the cumulative effect of all of them, and then doing them every single day. And the reason that we didn't want to preach to anybody as far as what the diet has to be, what your workouts have to be. We want you to take ownership of that. That's part of what we are trying to do here at 18 Strong, is not sell you every program that we have or hold your hand through every workout. We want to help empower you guys to be able to take control of your prep, your physical fitness, your health, your mindset. We want to help be a resource for you to find what works for you, not necessarily Jeff's workout program, or doing exactly the diet that I'm doing, because everybody's going to find something that works well for them and something that doesn't work for them. There's no one size fits all diet. And somebody posted in the group that they were going to do keto. Keto's super hard to do, like that's a major commitment. For many people, it might just be, the diet program should be, I need to have a good protein and a vegetable at every single meal, and I'm going to do that for 40 days straight. And that's hard enough. I'd rather you not shoot for the moon and try to do the hardest diet possible. I would rather you find something that you can truly build a habit off of and build from there. So if you don't eat vegetables, shit, make your thing, I'm going to eat a vegetable at every meal. And then not 40 days later, holy cow, there's actually some vegetables that I like eating. And now I'm going to keep eating vegetables for the rest of my life. Like that's what the program is here. And that's why we didn't want to tell you what to do, what to eat, what your workouts need to be. I've got my own goals. You've got your own goals. We're happy to be a resource for these things. And we're happy to help you, kind of navigate this. But we didn't want to preach and say, you have to do this. Now we can get into the details of why behind some of these other ones, but I want to kind of open this up and see if anybody has any questions before we get going here.
Yeah. So Jim had one about the 24 ounces of lemon water. I knew what you meant, Jim. And let's see. Yeah. So Jason. Yeah. So he's got his idea too. I think the big part where, like, especially the nutrition piece, keep coming, guys, is that we try to do it in, okay, so this is a 40-day thing. If you have 20 pounds to lose, don't try and do it in 40 days. Lose a pound or two every week. And then after, you lose it, you can keep it off, because whatever gets you there is what's going to keep you there. Because it's 90, and I've done so much research on this lately, 95% of diets fail. Well, they all work, but they fail. Like if you and I just stopped, if all we ate was meat for the next 2 weeks, I guarantee we'd lose weight. But I like drinking beer. I like carbs. I like that stuff. So it's not going to work for me. So it's making too drastic of a change. And that's what everybody does January 1st. 1 or 2 drastic lifestyle changes that are completely, I know you don't like the word unsustainable. And then, the average diet lasts 6 days. That's how hard those things are. Yeah, like keto is a perfect example. It is extremely difficult because we've both done it. It's so hard to just eat meat all the time. Okay, so you want to go to Jim's question about the specifics? Right in order. What's the benefit of the 24 ounces of lemon water?
By the way, guys, I'm the gentleman in Bernie, Texas. If you remember from a couple years ago.
Yeah. How are you?
Yeah. Thanks for coming, Jim.
What's the temperature there, Jim?
Yeah,
Jim, what's the temperature there?
It's about 55 now.
Dog.
Yeah, we've had a cold front the last week here, down to the 30s.
Poor guy, 55.
No snow.
It snowed here last night, so we're in the teens.
We're still playing every day here.
Oh, come on, Jim. Shut it down.
How can I mute Jim?
Permanent mute,
Yes. So Bodie, you'd be the one to answer that question.
Yeah. So the morning water, first of all, we've all come to learn how important hydration is just in general, right? Knowing that we need to get more of our basically water is fuel for our body, right? For our muscles, for our joints, helps everything, helps get nutrition throughout the body. So the more hydrated we are, the better. Ultimately, the goal is, and I get this number from Robert Yang from his Hole-in-One Nutrition book, is trying to get roughly half of your body weight in ounces of water per day. Now, to some people that sounds like a lot, to some that doesn't sound like a lot. What doing the water immediately in the morning does, there's a couple different benefits. First of all, for most people, a lot of people don't get enough water throughout the day. So this is a way to pretty much give yourself a head start right out of the gate. Also, you're waking up from a fasted state where your body hasn't taken in any nutrition. And so to hydrate right away will help get that into your system, get it into your bloodstream, and just kind of helps out again with every function of your body. So making sure that gets into you early on. Really, the idea is building the habit of getting water in you quickly at the beginning of your day to pretty much set the tone for your body for the rest of the day. The lemon, what that does, obviously provides some vitamin C. Vitamin C is good for immunity. Vitamin C is good for your skin health. I actually had my sheet pulled up here just to make sure I didn't forget anything. Obviously, there's antioxidants in it, helps with iron absorption. It can also help with some kidney function too. So, there's a lot of different little things. And some of them, it's not like lemon is a miracle and it's going to do all these. But there's definitely a benefit to it. Obviously, the biggest piece is the water. And that's why we just say primarily get your 24 ounces of water. The reason I say 24 ounces is simply because I have a 24-ounce glass mason jar that I've been using for years. And I was like, what the hell? Why not make everybody drink what I drink? So, and then my thought process is I do my 24 ounces in that mason jar. And then I've got one of these Nalgene bottles and it's a 32 ouncer. I drink a couple of those throughout the rest of my day. I pretty much take this thing with me everywhere I go, and in the car, in the gym, and just refill it a couple times. And I know that I've got my water taken care of. But primarily it's more about building the habit of getting that water into you quickly. And it's been shown that doing it early, like right out of the gate in a fasted state, it's going to help get it into your system. So that's why we do that one. Yeah.
Now there is the debate. Does that, like if you're doing intermittent fasting, does that break your fast? And I've read both ways, where any caloric activity or event breaks your fast. But then I've heard other guys say that it doesn't. So I don't know what the right answer is.
Yeah, I would say that just from what I know about the intermittent fasting, I would say that does not. But yeah, there's different people that come from different camps on that. I even go by the philosophy that as long as it's, like if I'm doing my intermittent fast, which I typically do, kind of a loose intermittent fast. I'm not steadfast on I have to stay within these hours or anything like that. But for the most part, I wake up and don't eat until really mid to late morning. But I will have coffee and put like some MCT oil or grass-fed butter or something like that in it. And those are fats, right? But some of the intermittent fasting intermittent fasting information that I've read, again, they count that as not breaking your fast. It allows you to sustain before getting an actual food into your body. So I'm not that strict about it, so I don't really care, to be honest.
Yeah, you don't have to be that militant. Like if it's how many calories are in a squeeze of lemon? 10. So is that
right?
Is that really going to affect your life? I doubt it.
Yeah. And if that's your thing, then and we've talked about this, Ryan, because that's kind of what you were doing. Wait until you're getting ready to eat and drink your water right before you eat. I don't care if that's 12 o'clock in the afternoon. But again, that's why we said as the first thing you consume for the day. That's why I didn't say right when you wake up.
Gotcha.
All right.
Cool. So Mark has a question. What is the health benefit from taking the ice cold shower? Benefits, I would venture to say, plural. Yeah.
So the cold shower is, and if you guys want to look into this, there's a gentleman by the name of Wim, W-I-M Hof, H-O, I think it's just one F, Wim Hof. They call him the Iceman. And he's kind of really popularized the idea of cold plunges, cold showers. He's got a great book. He has actually, has the world record of being in, I think, like a tub of ice for over 2 hours. And he was able to maintain his body temperature level, which is crazy. So, but as far as the cold shower is concerned, there's several different benefits. One is it actually helps to reduce stress levels, reduces cortisol levels. It can provide a higher level of like alertness and awareness. I'm sure all of you have felt that. You obviously the cold water hits and it just kind of wakes you up. It's almost like a state change. It's a great thing to do. Like if you're feeling just kind of like lazy, lethargic, not really feeling like doing much, you go take a cold shower. And I mean, most everybody in the Facebook group has said this, that, like taking that cold shower totally wakes you up, kind of gets you motivated to go like do stuff. Like one of our guys, Chris, said that he's like, I did my cold shower and I went to the grocery store and I did my workout and I did my swings. He's like, I got it all done like within 2 hours. I was so like amped up and ready to go. So the alertness is a big piece of it. There also is, there are studies that show that it ends up kind of boosting and creating more of a robust immune response in your system. And I don't know the exact physiology behind it, but a big part of the cold shower is the fact that when your body gets the cold, it kind of changes the circulation. It forces your external like blood vessels to kind of shut down a little bit and kind of shunts the blood to your organs and to your body. And so then when you when you get out and then your body starts to warm up, then that blood rushes back out to your distal extremities and everything. So there's almost like this flushing of blood, and that helps to create kind of a, I guess flushing is a good word, but it gets the blood out to the extremities, it gets it to the muscles, it gets it to the organs and all that. And so it's almost like this kind of flushing of the whole system, kind of gets rid of some of the stagnant stuff in your system. There are studies that show that it improves or increases your, I believe it's your brown fat cells, and brown fat cells actually are a good thing. Those will end up actually helping you burn some of the adipose tissue, like the fat, the yellow fat or white fat or whatever we call it, that we don't want. So there's quite a few different things. I think that for me personally, all of those physical benefits are great, But again, a lot of this is going to come back to the fact that it kind of sucks too. And when you make yourself do something that sucks, there's a win there. There's a win associated with that. And I swear every single morning it's kind of like, all right, do I really have to do this? And then yes, and then just by overcoming that little not wanting to do it is a little win to start the day. And then you kind of can move on from there because you feel a sense of achievement with that little thing. It's kind of like when you don't want to do a workout and you go do your workout and afterwards you feel really good because you did it, whether it was a good workout or a bad workout, but the fact that you did it, it's just that mental little win. And I would venture to say that over the course of the 40 days, most people are going to not only look and feel better because of all this stuff, but it's going to be those little mentality shifts that are probably some of the biggest wins that people experience.
Yeah, I think you walk a little taller after you do the cold shower, because most people are not out there doing that, and it does make you feel better. And like this time of the year, it's the worst time and the best time. It's the worst because the water in the pipes coming in the house is super cold.
Oh man.
But
that morning when it was 12, I woke up and it was 12 degrees. I'm like, oh, you gotta be shitting me. Like I had to go walk the dog and then come home and do my shower and my cold shower. I was like, all right, here we go.
Yeah, I do it.
What did I get myself into?
Yeah, why do we do this? But it's the best time of the year because then you're not as cold outside. So I've noticed that too. Like especially, soccer's going to start here in another, for the kids, is going to start in another, 4 or 5 weeks, and we'll be standing out in the, when it's dark outside.
Freezing cold.
Yeah, when it's 30 degrees, and it'll help that. It's got all these little ancillary benefits too. Kendra said her hair is feeling better. Not that her hair hurt, but she's having better hair days than usual. Which bad hair days, I don't know anything about that.
Tell Kendra she's welcome.
Okay. So Marina, kudos to her. What were you celebrating tonight, Marina, that you swapped out the champagne for the sparkling water?
Well, you might know that originally I'm from Finland, and I've been living in this country in the UK now since 1998, for almost 25 years. Mm-hmm. And for the last 3 years or so, I really wanted to become more sort of part of the country because this is my home nowadays. So I decided to try to get the citizenship. Man, it's difficult in this country. So I had to take 2 language tests. I had to read a book, Life in the UK, with all the dates imaginable. You had from the Stone Age till today, all the battlefields, all the prime ministers, all the authors, all the athletes, how many gold medals the Paralympics got, everything.
Oh my gosh.
And the Home Office in this country is a tricky one. You can hardly understand what they say on their websites, and millions of documents and things. And today, finally, I had a ceremony, citizenship ceremony in a Archbishop's palace. And I had to swear an oath that I will be obeying the Queen of England, and I will be a good citizen and all that. So now I'm officially a British citizen as well as a Finnish one.
Wow.
So that's why I wanted to celebrate.
Congratulations.
Yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Holy cow.
Fantastic.
That's a lot of hoops.
I know.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
No kidding.
And no champagne. Yeah, if there were ever a day to drink champagne, today would be the one.
Yeah.
It's a good achievement. It feels good.
That's amazing. Yeah. And it only took you how many years? What is that? 24?
Yeah, about 24 years, but actively 3 years to go through this process because of lockdown and things as well. But
right.
Yeah, it was a long process.
Gotcha. Well, congratulations again. That's outstanding.
Yeah. Awesome.
Well,
all right. What else? Do we have any other questions on here, Ryan?
Well, we've had a number of questions about the Daily Motion, which we've discussed in other calls, but I guess the overarching thing is, why do we harp on this? What's the big deal about doing your every friggin' day?
Yeah, the the daily motions are, again, part of it is the habit piece, right? And making sure that you're doing something every single day, just to get your body moving. Because when we when we're not moving, where our bodies are starting to tighten up, they're starting to atrophy, they're starting to lose some of the capabilities that we have. And so the daily motion is one way to pretty much make each and every one of your joints go through a motion that is necessary really for you for daily life. So your body is consistently feeling these things out. You're consistently feeling those ranges of motion. When you don't have when you tend to live in this little box, which most of us do, sitting, kind of in front of us. In fact, I've got to remind me to come back to the test that I made my kids do the other day, because we're talking about some postural stuff. But most of us, we sit, we are at a desk, we're on our phone, we're on these computers. So everything is kind of right in front of us. Many of us, except for going out and playing golf, are kind of in this straight plane motion. We do all these things like this. We rarely rotate. We rarely raise up over our head. We rarely get down to the floor. And then we go out to the golf course on the weekends, and we try to swing a golf club over 100 miles an hour, trying to hit this little white ball. And it's just a recipe for disaster. It's a recipe for us to get injured. Now, I'm not saying that, doing this arm circle is totally necessary for you to make a good golf swing, but we want your body to be able to handle anything. So when you're going on an airplane and you have to fly and put something in the overhead bin, you don't tear your rotator cuff, because guess what? You can't play golf with a torn rotator cuff. So everything that we do is not about how do I improve my position in my golf swing. In fact, I would say most of it is just getting your body moving well, functioning well, being strong, so you can do everything that you need in your golf swing, but you can do all of these other things and not get hurt doing them, and you can exceed in doing them. So the daily motion is a way for us to put a little stress on the muscles, put a little stress on the tendons and the joints in all of these different directions, because it's when those muscles, tendons, and joints undergo stress that they're not ready for, that's when we get hurt. So if we're constantly giving them these little reminders of positions and motions and the rotation, and we're constantly getting these things moving, like we always say, Ryan, you're greasing those joints up. You're getting them ready for action. One of, I think, the most beneficial pieces is it almost keeps you, what we like to say, perpetually warmed up. So even if you are rushing to the golf course, you don't have to spend 30 minutes every time. If you're late and you get to the first tee box, you can be confident and comfortable that, you know what, I might not have time to do my normal warm-up, but sorry, my phone just started ringing. I might not be able to have time to do my normal warm-up, but my body's pretty ready to go no matter what, because I've been putting in the time and the effort for these last 7 days, 30 days, year of doing these little movements, working on building some of the tension, even building some of the strength. Those things also help your range of motion for your workouts, to make your workouts more effective. So there's so many different benefits, and it's one of the things that I've gotten quite a bit of feedback on, just from some of our buddies that are doing this whole Forge thing that have never tried our programs, and they're like, man, I'm really got a couple texts. I'm really loving these daily stretches. I'm loving these daily movements, and I'm cracking more than I think I should be. Is that okay? When you're doing the neck circles, you start to get these cracks and these pops, and it's those things because most people don't experience those, and so they're starting to feel their body in these different positions. And then some of the comments are, man, I'm way tighter than I thought I was, or I'm way more stiff. It's because they're never getting out of that little box. So quick story. I'm reading the new book called Pain Free by Pete Egoscue. We've had Pete on, or not, we haven't had Pete on the show. We've had Brian Bradley, who is the head of Egoscue. And it's a great book. It's a great book for the layperson to read too, because it talks all about it's about you healing your own body with different exercises for different body parts. So if you have back pain, neck pain, shoulder pain, he breaks down, here's a routine of, it's hard to even call some of them exercise, because sometimes it's just, you getting in a position for a few minutes and letting your body kind of settle into position. But he talks about how basically the biggest problem for all of us is getting out of postural balance. Our whole body, if you think of it like a tower, the skeleton is the tower that's built, but the only way it stays standing is because we have these muscles that are constantly pulling and tugging in different directions, much like the wires of a bridge. And if one wire gets to be too tight and the other one is too loose, all of a sudden there's way different tension on one of the wires. And that's really what ends up causing a lot of the different issues of our joints being out of position and then stress being put on different parts of our body. So I was reading this and I looked around in my living room because we were all sitting there, and my son is on his phone, like this. And my daughter's like 1 foot up on the couch, like with her phone. And I'm like, so dad goes into preach mode about how important posture is. And they kind of shrugged me off. And I'm like, all right, hang on a second. So I had them all sit, and we were talking about the forward head, so the head being this way. And in the book, they said that that children are starting to develop horn-like prominences on the back of their head because of the stress from the muscles, from them leaning forward. The tendons are pulling so hard that they're creating these bony prominences on the back of their head. So I had each of them grab a dumbbell, like a small dumbbell. My little guy had a 3-pounder, my daughter had a 5 or 7, and my son had a 10-pounder. And I said, all right, sit up tall, and I want you to stick it straight over your head and hold it for a minute. And they held it for a minute, and after a minute, they're like, oh my gosh, that was so hard. And then I said, okay, take that same dumbbell and now hold it out in front like this. And they lasted about 4 or 5 seconds. And like, that was so much harder. And I'm like, that's what you're doing with your head, So if you want a little experiment on why it's so important for us to stay up in a good posture, and this goes for our golf swing too, but by us doing this, we're creating so many issues with our neck and our thoracic spine. And it's a great little experiment. Just take a weight straight up over your head and then hold it out in front of you, because your head typically weighs somewhere between 8 to 12 pounds. The kid in Jerry Maguire was a little shy on his number. But if you put 8 to 12 pounds in front of you, that's a lot of stress that's having to be combated all day long. And that's why so many of us get the rounded posture, the shoulder issues, the neck issues, the upper back issues, the low back issues. So that's a good little experiment for you to try.
Yes, I will do that. I'll do that with our kids later today.
Yeah.
Yeah, because this is a hard time of the year, because it's so cold to go outside at night.
Yeah.
So they're using it as an excuse all the way.
So I think I scared the shit out of my little guy though, because he'll be like playing his game. He'll sit up, he'll like lean up against me. He's like, all right, you're my backstop. He's like, I'm not really going to get horns, am I?
Maybe.
And then he said, shouldn't Sam have a horn by now? Sam's my oldest one, because he's constantly. So
luckily, anyway. A lot of his are reading books, so it's okay to get him from that. So Jason, is it okay if I put you on the hot seat here? I saw your little thing in the chat. If you want to tell everybody about what you've got going on here.
Yeah, sure thing, Ryan. Thanks. So I joined 18 Strong as a member back in November of 2020. No coincidence that's the end of our golf season here in Michigan. My original intent was to do something in the off season to make the following year better, stay injury free, have better mobility, hit bombs off the tee, and have calves like Phil Mickelson. Right? That's what everybody knows.
Of course.
So that was my original intent. But over the course of that off season, I kind of got hooked, and so I've been doing the 18 Strong workouts ever since. But to couple with the workouts, I started doing the Daily Motion, or now the EFDs. That's made a huge difference. Just to your point, Jeff, the added mobility, because I worry if you don't use it, you'll lose it.
It's
And
true.
to give you just case in point, every fall I have a buddies trip and we play a lot of holes of golf in a very short window of time. This year we played 101 holes in 4 days. It was 99 holes plus 2 bonus for a playoff. And I was
Nice.
in
Holy
all,
cow.
I was in 101. In my last match, I was 2 down with 2 to play. I ended par, and I have the match with my opponent, which ended up getting us into the playoff, and we won it. I only bring that up because after all those holes, and sure, a few bourbons and a few beers while we play, I still felt really good on holes number 100 and 101. My body felt good. I don't know if I would have done that otherwise. So I attribute it to the daily motion and in my workout. So I think that's been tremendous.
Yeah, yeah.
I feel it in the office, or if I'm in the car a lot. I mean, it makes a difference, right? And then the lemon water. I too have read Robert Yang's book. In fact, I have it on the nightstand, and I try to drink, roughly a quarter of my weight in the morning, and then half throughout the rest of the day. Lemon water, though, and Jeff, I don't think you said this, but it helps the water just taste different too. Because when you're drinking water all day, you get monotonous, right? So the lemon adds a little flavor, which is just a bonus. But I always do that now prior to even touching a cup of coffee. And I was an avid Coca-Cola drinker from the time I was probably, I don't know, 8 years old, all the way until 2 years ago when I was 44.
Wow.
And my intent wasn't to stop Coke right away, but interestingly, when I started drinking all this water, Coke just went bye-bye. I mean, even for a mixer with my bourbon, it just went away. And that wasn't the intent. It just kind of happened. And I love that.
Yeah.
So I'm a huge advocate for both the Daily Motion and the lemon water, as well as everything else. But those two really stand out to me.
Oh, that's awesome. Did you lose any weight when you quit the Coke?
No, and I'm trying to gain weight, actually.
Oh, you're that guy.
Yeah, we gotta pack some pounds on Jay.
Yeah. So yeah, I know the Coke is a lot of like empty calories, right? That would help me. But no, my weight didn't change when I stopped drinking the Coke. I didn't lose any, which is good.
Oh yeah, I didn't. You don't need to lose weight. I realized that. It's just we had a buddy who's.
Luckily, I stayed the same. Now I'm trying to inch my way up a little bit.
I'll meet you in the middle because I'm inching my way down.
All right.
Yeah. So Jay, real quick. So what's your? I know you mentioned something about your nutrition plan, but so what is it that you're doing for these 40 days? Because we'd love to see you kind of start to move in the right direction as far as putting on a little bit of that mass like you're talking about.
Well, the biggest thing, Jeff, is making sure that I consistently have 3 meals a day. Even though I'm working from home all the time since the pandemic hit, I still will skip a meal often. And it seems like during the week, it's usually breakfast. I just get busy and then I don't eat until lunchtime. And on weekends, I'll make a really nice breakfast, but then I'll skip lunch and go all the way until dinner before I eat. So I think my biggest issue is I don't eat enough. I eat really healthy when I eat. I eat good, healthy proteins. I eat vegetables most of the time. I do not eat processed foods much at all anymore. I just don't eat enough. So for me, it's making that concentrated effort. Have I had breakfast yet? And it's 11 o'clock. Okay, do it. But that means maybe my lunch that you saw me having some soup here earlier. My lunch is at 3 o'clock Eastern or 4 o'clock Eastern. I just want to make sure I increase my calorie intake while continuing to do the workouts and everything else.
Do you have any idea what your calorie intake is?
I've never done the math. I mean, I would guess I'm probably around 2,000, which is what you normally would be to maintain, but I know that's not enough to increase I have a son who's turning 16 next week, and he's at the gym 6 days a week, and he's trying to add mass because he's built like I am, and he's doing it. He's actually gained quite a bit of definition and mass, but he's eating 4,000 to 5,000 calories a day. I don't even think I could do that if I wanted to, but literally he's trying to pack on pounds, and it's 4,000 to 5,000 a day.
Wow. What I would say. Tracker. What's that?
I said, according to his tracker that he uses, and maybe I should use one too. I don't know.
I'm gonna challenge you to use a tracker, not for the whole thing, but just for a couple of days this week, like next couple of days, I'd say, like a standard weekday, standard weekend day. It's really easy. Go to MyFitnessPal. You can scan almost every item of food that you'll have. But for somebody like you, because I know that this is something that you've been trying to do for a while now, and if we just keep doing the same thing, right, it doesn't make sense if we're not getting the results. So it's just knowing what 3,000 calories really looks like or whatever. I would say take your body weight, multiply it by 14 to 16, maybe start at 14, and then whatever that caloric number is, I want you to hit that every single day. And so you tracking just for 3 days will give you an idea of what that calorie number really feels like. You know, and then you can say like, oh yeah, I'm way off of what I've been eating, or no, I've been pretty good, and then we can kind of figure out where we need to go from there. But hitting that number and then making sure that you have enough protein, 30 to 35% of that should be protein. Those are kind of the two big markers that we look at when we're getting as dialed in as looking at calories and macros, making sure that you hit your calorie goal, and then making sure that 30 to 35% of that is actually protein. Carbs and fats, I don't care as much about until you get those things hammered down, and those are kind of big ones. So.
Okay, I'll do it. I'll try it, because like I said, since I've been doing all of this the last 2 years, I think my mobility is better. I think my strength has increased. I play better on the course. I feel better, but I'm just not gaining weight. I'm staying pretty much the same, which I know a lot of people would say, I'd love to stay the same, but I want to increase. And honestly, I'd love to increase 20 pounds, not right away, but over the course of a couple of years, 20 pounds would be great.
Sure.
Yeah. And I honestly think that will, first of all, that will help your speed. That will help your strength, because you're just gonna have more mass to be able to really brace the ground and work off of. I also feel like when we do increase with good solid mass, that helps protect our bodies a little bit more too. You're a very lean guy, and so kind of like a Justin Thomas. Like, I'd like to see a guy like Justin Thomas put on a few good pounds, and I think his body's going to be more resilient, especially with the way he swings a golf club. And as much as all of us love to play golf, the more resilient we can make our bodies, the better. So if you're moving well, if you're strong, if you pack on some good pounds, it's only going to end up helping your game, your distance, your ability to play even longer. So,
well, thank you. I accept the challenge, and I'll let you and Ryan know what my actual calorie intake is after I do this for a few days for a baseline, and then I'll keep you up to date with progress if you don't mind.
Yeah, shoot us a DM with like a screenshot of your MyFitnessPal or whatever.
Yeah. Awesome.
Cool, man.
All right.
Yeah. Thanks, Jason. That's excellent. All right, Bodini, we are 3:04 here. If you want to wrap this thing up with some words of wisdom, I'm sure.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, I know that a couple questions came through. Brandon, I know you sent a question that we didn't get to. So shoot those questions into the Facebook group if you want, or we can kind of address them next week on the call as well. But I highly encourage anybody that's in here that is doing the Forge to get active in the Facebook group and share your experiences, share your wins, your losses, your struggles, whatever, because those are the things that really do end up helping some of the other people, or it at least ends up opening up some conversation. It's one thing for me to come in and post, something about, some tip or trick or diet or whatever, but it's when you guys also get in there and start doing that stuff that I think other people start to realize, like, hey, other people are doing this with me too. And then that encourages it a little bit more. It's kind of like hearing your dad talk all the time. You just kind of stop listening. So when you guys get involved, it definitely helps to spark the conversations and the questions. And if you have that question, somebody else definitely does. So, but appreciate you guys being here, and look forward to seeing you guys all next week, and keep going on the Forge, and we'll see where everybody is.
See you guys.
All right, guys. Thank you.